Welcome to the Dallas Duo Podcast,
your weekly wellness coffee date.
We're friends in Dallas, always looking for the best ways to optimize our health
and have fun along the way.
So today is all about protein bars, and we have a ton in front of us that we brought. I think the biggest thing to start with, and this is just because I'm a dietitian, is that you want to think about why you are buying a bar in the first place, because we live now in a world, luckily, first world problems, that you could buy a bar and it might not serve as a protein source, which is okay. There are individuals who are looking for just more calorie needs or more carbohydrate needs because they're training for an endurance marathon. There are bars that have a lot of fat in them if you're looking to increase your intake of healthy fats. And so for me, the first rule is that just because something's a bar doesn't mean it's a protein bar. And we want to check for the prevalence of that. So if you have a bar with 20 grams and 200 calories, then that would be about matched. And so we have a good percentage there just to base things off of.
Oh, so putting a 0 at the end of the number. So
at the end of the number.
Okay,
so like if it's a 20 gram protein bar and it has 200 calories, that would be matched appropriately.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's an easy thing to remember.
A lot of times I will calculate the percentage of protein. So you take the grams of protein times 4, and that tells you how many calories are coming from protein. And then you divide that by the total calories in the bar. And I like to see that it's about 20% or more. 20% is kind of like the bare minimum, because if you think about what else the bar is going to be created of, you're going to have fats and carb and fiber in there. But if you want the bar to be protein, then the majority of the calories should be protein.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I'm not really like a bar person. Like I kind of keep them for if I'm running late and I just need to grab something, or like emergency food to keep in my purse. I know some people like to do bars every day. I personally don't, because I'd rather
I don't plan for that. One of the things we used to talk about a lot in like 30 was like food. I really like people to chew their food, enjoy meals, and enjoy foods that aren't coming out of packages as much as possible. That is such a luxury in certain stages of life, like early postpartum with a newborn. There was a lot of times I was eating just like a lot of bars just because that's all I had on hand, and that was easy.
I didn't have time.
Yeah, I didn't have time to cook, right? But trying to get back to real food as much as possible is great. And so I think the caveat with these is they're great, but we don't plan on eating them on a daily basis.
And there are certain times where, I feel like you do lean on them more. Like, for example, like, I have a high schooler, and sometimes if he has a practice or something after school, well, he ate lunch closer to noon, but then he's going to be working out later in the day. So there are times where you do need to fill those gaps. So it is nice to know what to look for and what could be a good possibility or for him or your child in that moment.
That window, I think, really applies to so many people. I think from like carpool on or like 3 o'clock on, there's this window of maybe opportunity to get some protein and even just like nutrients and calories on board, because dinner a lot of times gets pushed to 7, 8, 8:30, depending on, if you have kids that are in sports, etc. We need food between 12 and 8. That's way too long to go. But, general rule of thumb is usually 4 to 5 hours. Your stomach has really emptied itself of nutrients, and we can't just run off of good vibes. We need calories in order for our body to really feel fueled. So there are now kind of like a division in the protein market. We have sweet and savory, which I love because I think some people just do better with savory. And I know after a while, like I get sick of like every bar being like vanilla or chocolate brownie.
Yeah. Cookie dough.
So I think one of the OG savory bars is the Epic bar.
Yes.
Epic was bought out by, I'm going to say Kellogg now.
I think it was whoever bought out RX Bar. I think it was like the same.
So they're in mass distribution now, which is great. There has been no change in the recipes. I know a lot of people don't like when companies get bought, but they made a lot of money, and they're the same as they were 10 years ago. Yeah. I like these bars because they're a little bit more substantial. We also have like the meat stick, which I would say is the, those are the minis, the new Primal. This is the big one, full size. And then this bar. So you can go anywhere from, I think, 4 grams of protein all the way up to 11 grams of protein. I think their highest has like 13, like the bison one, I think.
Yeah.
So anywhere from 4 to 14.
Yeah. And I buy Chomps a lot. And I think one of them has, maybe one of their turkey or chicken one has 12. Yeah. But they're around 10. So like The chomps are a good one too.
So like a 10-gram protein snack is a really nice snack. That's like about two hard-boiled eggs, or like half a serving of Greek yogurt. And so, or even like half of a protein shake. So if you don't like
Mhm.
those things, these are other options. I like the savory because again, sometimes like a chicken bar, it sounds weird, but that with an apple, I like a heck of a lot better than having
Yeah.
like a vanilla flavored bar with a piece of fruit that's also sweet. It just feels like too much
Well, and it's
sweetness.
kind of a little more satisfying in that, like with a meat bar or stick, you have to chew a little bit more. And then if you
Yeah.
pair that with like a piece of fruit, it's just a little bit more satisfying, I think. And so I
Mhm.
think it's good we bring up the meat options because
Yeah.
a lot of people just automatically think with, protein bar, it's like a sweet kind of desserty option.
Yeah. And I think that stereotypically people are like, oh, well, those are for men. Sure, men do like the meat bars, but honestly, I hoard my meat sticks and I eat them as purse jerky.
Yeah. We've
So
been known to keep them in our handbag like for many years.
there was a wedding season where I was supplying all of the meat sticks for people because they were still hungry at the end of the night. So
Yeah. No,
those
it's
I
a
think
good
are
one.
like good go-tos.
Yeah. And they won't melt. You can keep it in your
Yeah, that
car,
is the
your
one thing being in
purse.
Texas. The new primal is probably my favorite in terms of
Hmm.
flavor. I'm really picky on texture.
Yeah.
And I personally think that the chomps are a little too like moist. I don't know, like
Yeah.
weird. There's
They're
like
a
a
little more chewy. So like if
hydrated,
you
maybe they're
yeah.
like too hydrated. Maybe I
Mm,
like a little drier.
yeah.
And then there is like more of a like Brooklyn Biltong, like a
Yes.
jerky that's like air dried. And so you're getting more like shredded
They're like
pieces
little
of meat
bites
instead.
almost.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
bites instead. Epic makes the bites. And those are also like a nice opportunity, which I feel like if you want to do like a fun charcuterie board or like a girl dinner,
Mm,
that's like a nice option. If you don't want to cook a protein, you could always do that too.
yeah. I like anything spicy. So I love that there's like sriracha chicken or like the new
Yes.
Primal does a spicy one. So does Chomp.
Hmm.
So there's always that spicy option as well.
Yeah, those are good go-tos. And then the bars that you won't see today that we don't talk about are so like Cliff Bar, Luna Bar, Lara Bar. These all fall in like a higher carbohydrate bar
Mhm.
category. And I actually used them a lot as my safe foods when I was newly diagnosed with celiac. And there
Mhm.
would be like meals that I couldn't participate in. And I knew that I could use them as almost like part of the meal replacement. But in terms of being a high protein option, they don't meet that category. And so those aren't the ones that we focus on, although they can be used as like a safe backup for other reasons. I use them a lot in like my high carbohydrate need kiddos who have like practices coming up
Yeah.
and they're just burning through that energy where they need carbs. But I don't use them as like a high protein source because again, they're not a good source of protein.
Yeah, I think RX bars, like, I think a lot of people thought those were protein bars for a while, and they're
Yeah.
not.
Have like 12 grams of protein, but like 30 grams of
Yeah,
carbs.
I used to like those, like, for a long hike because then,
Yes,
you
so
need some
helpful.
extra carbs in
Yeah,
that scenario. Yeah.
those ones are really yummy. Okay, a few others. One of my personal favorites is healthy eating on the go. I actually found this
Ooh.
through an account that I actually don't love, but she was eating them and I was like, "What are those?" These are order online only right now, but I'm a mom-owned company with a mission to create healthy food for her children on the go. What I love is that they are like a perfect bar with less added sugar. I have a little bit of a beef with perfect bar
Oh.
because they have so much honey in them. Honey is still added sugar, even though it's natural. These have 3 grams of added sugar and they use peanuts, oats, whey protein, raw sunflower seeds, almonds, coconut. It's just very straightforward in terms of ingredients. Honey is one of the very last ingredients you find on here, but very similar like texture and flavor. I keep them in the fridge and they also make minis. So you can get anywhere from like 7 to 15 grams of protein based on the bar that you choose.
Okay, and is it kinda like more of a chewy?
Yeah, because it has
Okay.
like a nut butter texture a little bit in terms of a bar. And
Mhm.
so really creamy and smooth. They do make one that has plant-based protein instead of whey. So
Oh,
for mamas who need like gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, these were big go-tos postpartum for individuals looking for like easy protein sources. I use
okay.
them like with overnight feeds. But they make like a pumpkin spice and a lemon. They make a low carb
Oh,
chia. It sounds weird, but it's super delicious. So those have been my go-to, and they offer like a sampler pack. So I'm
okay.
a big fan of companies who are willing to let you like
Yes.
try all the flavors
Like,
before you
Just
commit.
Ingredients does that, which
Yeah,
I
because like
fully appreciate.
if you get 12 bars that you don't like and you're
Yeah.
having to like farm them out on your husband, it's just
Yeah,
so
exactly. Well, I'll have to try those. I hadn't
yeah,
even heard of that brand
yeah,
yet.
those are really
Yeah.
delicious.
Well, that next one you have, Andrew's told me a little bit about that. that's been popular.
Yes. So I go back and forth with Built Bars because they do contain some ingredients that, like, as a dietitian, tend to upset a lot of my patients' stomachs, sugar alcohol
Mm,
specifically. So these contain sorbitol. But I think that my approach to food has like evolved a lot. And I think
yeah.
sometimes you do what tastes good because that's what works. And
Hmm.
so if I am looking for teenager or whoever to get more protein and this is the flavor they like and it doesn't cause bloating for them and their gut health is fine, then I'm good with
Yeah.
it.
And they're able to get some good calories in.
Yeah.
And
And it's not
yes.
the majority
Yeah.
of their diet. I know that they're also eating real whole foods. This is a
Hmm.
great option. These bars really good. When I was at Expo West, they were limiting samples
Oh,
because
wow.
people were like stealing them from
Oh,
the
my
booth.
gosh.
So they have these like mini marshmallows on top. And so I think if you have that picky kid who doesn't like any options on the market and is having a hard time finding easy proteins, like for practice,
Yeah.
essentially, be a great option to consider. They have really delicious flavors and they're very high protein. So that example I gave, this is 15 grams of protein. So 150 to the calories of 160. It's like perfect one to
Yeah.
one. It's a great ratio for high protein options.
And I know there's like lots of like flavors. I think Andrew was
They
telling
have
me
a
about the
lot.
s'mores. Like there's some
Yes.
really fun
Yeah. I
flavors.
think that I think some brands take an approach of being ingredient purists. And I think
Mm,
some brands take the approach of being taste purists. And I
yeah.
think that they took the taste route. And it's really smart because I think that people at the end of the day want food to taste good.
Yeah.
And those have really killed it on the market.
That's awesome. Okay, let's talk about the David bar because we have a love-hate relationship with the David bar.
Okay.
Yeah, so I ordered these when they first came out, was like, "Oh, these are good." Again, like I don't do a bar every day, so I was like, "This is like a good option."
Yeah.
It has kind of like a crunchy texture. There were a few flavors that I tried that were really that were good and they were using I believe it was monk fruit. Correct
Yep.
me if I'm wrong. Okay.
Yes.
It was monk fruit.
Yeah. I
Yes,
believe.
when they first came out as a
Yeah.
sweetener and then they changed it
Yeah.
to
So, okay,
some.
so let's talk about like the draw
Yeah.
because some people don't know. And I feel like I work as an advisor on brand boards. So, like, sometimes I just hear more because I'm in the
You get the
packaged
inside
food
scoop.
industry side. And I think I'm just more aware of what's going on. And I also have a passion for founders who are like doing it right. So, the David Bar was created by one of the co founders of RX Bar. So, RX Bar split the two founders. One created Hormels Chormels, which is like a
Oh, you were telling
chocolate
yes.
looks like a crunch bar that has protein in it. So it took like a elevated candy, functional candy route. And the other one took the David Bar route. What's interesting is when David Bar was like releasing, even in its launch days, they got endorsements from like Peter Attia
Mhm.
and Huberman
Huberman,
Labs
yeah.
to be like, oh my gosh, this is the highest protein, lowest calorie bar, perfect for people on GLP-1, Ozempic, in a
Yeah, because
calorie
it's got
deficit.
28 grams of protein,
28
so
grams of
very
protein and only
high. And I
160.
think 150 calories, 28 grams of
Yeah,
protein.
so
Yeah.
it's like double that ratio I talked about. Really high to the point that it's like over 40% of the bar is protein. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, this is madness. There's no way." So then a few things happened. Consumer Labs did a report saying that the protein had been overstated or amplified. And this is legal for companies to do, but there can be a variance of, I believe, up to like 12 to 15% on a
Mm.
label. And it can be in error, but it could still be correct. So you're able to say, if you know that your bar only has 10 grams of protein, but you say 15, they're not going to call you out on it. So it's just something to be aware of.
Mhm.
All like macro counting is ever going to be perfect if you're using the label for that discretionary range. And then they reformulated, but they
Mhm.
reformulated very, very strategically. Like they
Yeah.
didn't really
They didn't
state
say
it.
anything.
And even patients that I knew who had ordered directly from them, like never got notice that the brand was changing the ingredients. So instead of having stevia and monk fruit as their sweeteners, they changed out the ingredients for sucralose and ACE K, I believe, which is Splenda and Equal. What's so
Yeah,
interesting about
pancakes.
this is that it would be different if it was stevia to monk fruit because those are both considered like the natural sweeteners, but this actually took them from like a
Yeah.
natural sweetener to an artificial sweetener category. And not that there is anything innately wrong with the brand choosing that, but people have very strong opinions about
Mhm.
sweeteners. Like there are people who will not buy products that have Splenda or who will not buy products that have stevia. And so you kind of niche yourself. And then to dramatically shift and make kind of no announcement about it, I had patients who were on auto subscription who looked in their pantry and they had 2 different bars without any
Yeah.
sugar.
No, I remember getting another shipment in because like we liked them and got another shipment. And then I
And
was
they were
like,
different.
they were different. I looked at the label and I had no idea. And
Yeah.
I did subscribe and there was nothing that went out saying like this is
Just
different.
FYI. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other case was that, well, these bars are probably now cheaper because those ingredients are probably cheaper than what it is to source stevia and monk fruit. And some of the feedback that I've seen people get was kind of snarky, like them saying that it was because of the Maillard reaction that happens in the making of the food. And so like the texture of the food wasn't as good, the mouthfeel wasn't as good. So that's why they changed it. Which is just interesting because like there are so many bars on the market that don't have artificial sweeteners that are doing just fine. Like Go Macro's like the #1 grossing bar and they don't use anything like that. So the other big piece that was under review from Consumer Labs was that the reason that their nutrition label was inaccurate was also because they were not accounting for the fat that was included in their bar because the way that the fat was processed was not
I just watched a video
tolerated
about
metabolically.
This.
And so they're trying to say, very similar to like MCT oils, that because your body doesn't like utilize those calories, that they don't need to be included in the label. And they, I believe, bought the proprietary ingredient. And so they didn't want to have to include it in the nutrition label because I think they were looking at it more of like supplement. I need to double check the details on that, but it is like a really
they were saying
gray.
they actually have more fat, but like because if you test it a certain way, it'll come out that it does. But truly they don't because that certain part of it is not digestible. So I watched a really interesting video about it and it was kind of long, but I was like, oh, that's, I guess when you test a food in a certain way, it breaks it down differently than your body would, I guess.
Yeah. So they're using indirect calorimetry to test a product, which essentially is the external way that we test something that kind of mirrors the process that happens internally within your body. And kind of mirrors like how those calories are
absorbed,
digested and kind of fueled. And that gives us an amount, kilojoules. This is biochemistry and not my favorite subject, but
you know what you're talking about. So I'm glad you're here to explain this.
But irregardless, that was kind of their argument, is that like, well, this fat is a different fat than what other people are using. And because it digests and absorbs differently and the calorie effect is different, that we shouldn't have to include it, calorie for calorie in the system.
But all that being said, I still like these. I just wish they would just change the sweetener back. But again, it's like, would I have one every day? No. But like,
I do think the interesting argument is that for me, from like an ethical standpoint, I'm like, that sounds sketchy AF. I don't want to support these people. But on the other side of things, when I think about my patients who have high protein needs, low calorie goals because they're in a deficit, they are on a GLP-1, they are trying to lose weight, change their lifestyle, decrease medication, all these things. That's still a good bar.
Yeah.
And it's still a good tasting bar. So I could fight like either battle on either side. But I don't think that this company is out there for integrity. Again, they're kind of like the Built Bar. They're out there for like a taste appeasing bar and to meet people who are in deficits who want to meet their protein needs.
And it's like you said, there's a good fit for
everyone,
and just because one person, it's a good fit for them might not be for another person that has higher energy needs or, different things.
Exactly. I personally actually don't have one here because I love them, but BTR is my personal favorite. And I feel like I love them because their whole goal was like less added sugar. They don't use any added sugar. They have low total sugar, but they don't use anything artificial in their bars. And so for a lot of my clients, just knowing that there's no like sugar alcohols or artificial sweeteners, because we try to avoid those with young kids. We also see that it causes gut issues and my clients experience a lot of that is a really easy no-brainer for me to know that like they can eat that food and feel good. And they also have a high protein version.
How much protein do they have in them? I didn't realize they had a
high protein one has 15. And so it's similar to like the healthy eating on the go bar. Or their little one has like 7 to 8 and their big one has 15, which is great. So that's a nice go-to for me. But again, their niche is completely different. People are looking at like the integrity of the quality of the product, where the ingredients are sourced from, and care more about that. Where we have something like Go Macro Bar on the market, and I feel like they take an organic approach to their ingredients. But the first ingredient is sugar. It's brown rice syrup. And so again, it's just a different shopper who's saying, I want organic. I don't necessarily care that the first ingredient is an added sweetener.
Yeah. And some people really are like, my kid is so picky. I just need them
It
to
doesn't
eat
matter
something
what.
like
Yeah.
what would be my best option in
Yeah.
this scenario?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
where I think that for patients who are like individuals who are looking for like quick calories for their kiddos,
Mm,
Perfect Bar is a big go-to for individuals because it has like peanut butter and whey protein as the first two ingredients. So it's like
yeah.
added fat and protein is an easy way to get it into your kids in like a really delicious form. They have like chocolate cookie dough and peanut butter flavor that people love.
Yeah. And especially kids would like those flavors
Yeah.
for sure.
The one that's not out here that it just blows my mind that it's not as popular as it used to be is Quest Bar.
Oh,
Quest Bar
yeah.
was popular for so long.
Especially if you were like in the gym,
Yes, like that was what was sold
community.
on the shelf, I feel like, you know?
And Power Crunch. I
Oh
feel
my
like
gosh,
those had a
yes, the Power
moment.
Crunch bars too. And there's been like so much evolution in this category. I feel like
Yeah.
there's so many bars now. The one I haven't tried is Pro Mixes. There's Crispy Treat. You seen that?
No, but I did buy the Magic Spoon
Oh
one,
yeah.
and it was mixed
Okay,
reviews.
I heard it was really sweet.
Like, it was more like, okay, I would buy this if I was like, okay, I'm looking for like a protein bar, but I felt like it was marketed as more of like a Rice Krispie treat that's
Oh,
healthy,
okay.
which
It's maybe like the wrong
yeah,
area of the
like the
grocery
wrong
store.
area. I was like, okay, maybe like as a protein bar, but even then it was like very sweet. And we bought
Mm,
the chocolate one and they were kind of expensive.
yeah, I could
Yeah.
see that. Yeah, I mean, they're a really expensive product
They
as
were like
is.
15 grams of protein, I think, per
Interesting.
bar.
There's a new one, I think it's called Tidal, that is also like a whey protein Rice Krispie treat that I have to order and
Oh,
try.
okay.
This is what I do. This is
Yeah.
what we do is taste test bars to let you know what the best ones are out there. This is our job.
Yes. Well, and I love that we get to do that though, because that
Yeah,
is an area that is constant. And you even more so than me. I mean, I feel like you're getting to
constantly
try
try.
everything and you go to the expos and you try what's the newest. But yeah, there's so many choices. It's
Yeah,
overwhelming.
there's so many. And I think at the end of the day, it's, make sure if you're looking for a protein bar that your bar has protein in it.
Yeah. And use her
Um,
trick with the
Yeah,
zero.
yeah, that helps so much, because a lot of times I have especially moms who are like, "Oh, I bought this and I've been giving it to my son and I thought it had protein and it doesn't." Like,
Yeah.
they're kind of just blown away because a lot of times things get put in the grocery store, like the Toto cookies, if you see them at
Hmm.
Sprouts, they're in the protein bar section and they have so little protein,
Mm,
and they're delicious, but they're not a protein bar. And so if
yeah.
you're just a mom assuming that, like, the grocery store is merchandised correctly, sometimes that's not the case. Things get put in awkward spots that they don't really belong from, like, a nutritional standpoint.
Yeah, and that was definitely the case with the Magic Spoon. I was like,
Yeah, like, "This
that's so
doesn't go
weird."
here." Yeah.
All right. Well, gosh, anything else about protein bars?
Don't think
I
so,
think we're
but
good.
I would love to know if there is a bar that you love that we didn't talk
Yes.
about that we missed, or that's like hot and new that you have insight on or that you want feedback on. Drop it in the comments so that we can give you some of our feedback and ideas on if we've tried it or so that we can go try it.
Yeah, exactly. I always love trying new ones.
I'm always
So
scouting on Thrive Market, their new section. That's my favorite. Is I'll hit like high protein and like their new bar and I'll look and see if there's anything that's
anything
going on.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. Yeah. Send us your Recs too. All right. Bye.